back to another episode of Faith Talk with your host, Akriba. And once again, it's always a pleasure to be in your company. Tonight, I have a very special guest with me. She's a certified menopause coach, health coach, practitioner. But she's my coach, and she's made a difference in my life in such a short span of time. And I'm so happy to have her here with us tonight to impart the same information onto you, because in this journey, age is only a number. And so welcome to the couch with me tonight, Miss Patrice Lockhart.
Thank you. It is so good to be here.
It is so good to be here.
Finally.
It is so good to meet you face to
Yes.
face, because we've become friends and sisters and all of that.
There's a connection.
Yes, immediately, right away. And I just, in case the audience don't know, I've entered into something. That's how I got to meet you.
Yes.
And I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, it's a thing that we all have to go through. Natural transition. And you said to me, it's not a medical diagnosis.
No.
We're going to talk about all of that, Coach, but I want you to speak to the people right now and just tell them a little bit about who you are.
Okay. My name is Patrice Lockhart, and I'm a menopause health practitioner.
Yes.
I'm here because of life experience and purpose. Many years ago, I started to put on weight, and I was having issues sleeping for about a year. And then I went into 6 weeks of sleeping for under an hour. And when this was happening, my brain was acting like a television screen, the old black and white where you see the fuzzy lines.
Yes.
Then it would be like scenes from a movie, then black and white fuzzy lines and scenes from a movie. This happened for us after this year, 6 weeks consecutive under an hour to hour sleep. This was what was going on when I closed my eyes. Then I went into day, then night, then it turned into another day, then another night, another day, and another night. And not a wink of sleep. I'm not gonna cry.
No, and that's okay. You're releasing. You're releasing.
And when I got to that point, I remember at this point, I was dealing with a lot of stress in my life at this time also.
Yes.
And I was dealing with a lot of rejection. And literally, a family member had come and taken me out of my home, and she cared for me for 2 weeks.
Wow.
If she hadn't done that, I don't know if I'd be alive.
My God.
I didn't know my hands from my feet.
Oh my God.
And when I got to the point of no sleep, third day, third night, and she worked at the Rand Hospital as a lab technician. She looked at me, I'll never forget that. She looked in my eyes and she said, Patrice, do you understand what happens when you stop sleeping? And she was really trying to get me. And she said, your organs are going to start shutting down. And at this point, it was like I didn't have the controls anymore. And I thank God for her. I went through this phase, and I remember I'd been to the doctors. Then I had also I went to this place where this thank you. They were Germans, and they hooked me up on these machines, and the lady said to me, I need you to relax, okay? We need to get you to relax and take all your vitals and whatever, what they were doing, because they were trying to figure out what was going on with me.
Yes.
And so she said, I need you to relax. I said, I'm relaxed. She said, no, you're not, because the machines were going off the Richter scale.
Yes.
And so they left me in the room for about an hour. And they were just playing spa music and everything. They turned down the lights. They needed me to relax. And after about the hour, they came back in and hooked me up. And she said, are you relaxed? I'm like, yeah. And they did what they had to do. And then she gave me the paperwork. And she said, take this to your doctor right away. Because she said, even though you're relaxed, it's like you're running. Your body is racing and running. And when she gave it to me, now she still didn't explain. I still That's all I knew.
Right.
Later on down, many years later, I learned it was my cortisol pump. It was like it was turned off. My stress, the adrenaline, it was turned on and it wouldn't turn off. And in order for me to sleep, that pump had to turn off. And in order for me to stop putting on the weight, I had to sleep. So it was described, I was in a cycle. I was in a crazy cycle. And because I wasn't sleeping, I remember the brain. I remember started researching more about the brain because I wasn't getting into that fourth realm of sleep. I wasn't producing melatonin. There were some things that were going on. And during that time, I was in the corporate world. And I remember I was the only among two females on the dock at Borco. And I worked with men, all men. So there was no way I could go sit down to my boss and tell him what was going on with me. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I remember I spent time in the hospital. It was like a holiday weekend. Left work, had to end up in the hospital. I was released just before it was time to get to work, and nobody knew I was in the hospital.
Wow.
Not a soul. But one day while working, we were having a meeting, and I worked with foreigners and men, all from all over. So one day we're in this corporate meeting. I'm in the back. I'm sleepy. My boss don't know I'm not sleeping. And at the front of the room, he says, "Patrice, stop sleeping."
Wow.
The whole room turned around, black and white from everywhere. And you know, when you're in the corporate world, it's all about performance.
Yes.
It's not about, honestly, it's not about what's going on in your life.
Right.
Leave your problems behind. When you get in those doors, you perform.
Yes.
And it was humiliating for me when my boss did that. And so I had to end up going to him. And I had explained to him that something's going on with my body. I'm not sleeping, etc. And you know what saved me? The fact that his wife was going through something similar, and they had said that she was dealing with anxiety.
Wow.
And at that point still, I didn't know it was menopause. I came here to Nassau to live, and then I started having a lot of horrible heart palpitations. My heart would beat like crazy, like a drum. Then it would slow down. Then it would fit like it stopped. Then a beat. Stop for a while and beat. And when that used to happen, I used to be so weak, and I had breathing issues as well. And I remember I went to see Dr. Norman Gay.
Yes.
And he gave me this book called Ageless by Susan Summers. And so it helped me to understand something was happening with my hormones. But no one still said to me I was in menopause.
Right.
So from that, I understood, okay, I needed to get a panel of my tests, of my hormones tested.
Yes.
And I said to him, Dr. Gay, I want every last hormone in my body
Tested.
checked.
Wow.
Every last one. He said to me, we don't do that here. I have to send it. I said, I don't care. I'll pay for it. Just get it. I just need it. And when we got my test back, we found out that my DHEA was low.
Oh.
Now, the DHEA is the hormone that keeps the cortisol balanced. And we in these bodies, there's always a balancer.
Yes.
And just like how you have muscles, major muscles, and they're supporting muscles, so even if your major muscle has an issue, the support muscle can kick in.
Yes.
The DHEA hormone is what keeps, like I said, that cortisol in balance. And it's like if the cat is away, the mouse can play.
Absolutely.
And so that's what happened with me. And he put me on the DHEA, etc. And a lot of that sleep issue and the weight began to subside. Now, I did not know, I still didn't know I was in menopause. And dealing with the heart issues, One Christmas at my church, I was responsible for the drama ministry, preparing for a Christmas celebration. Christmas was on a Sunday. That morning, they thought I had a heart attack.
Oh,
The
my.
doctors came to my house after 5 that morning. I will never forget that. My son was away, so was my mom and I. And she's in the 80s. And so while I was going through, I wasn't gonna wake her up or bother her because there was nothing at this point she could do to help me.
Right.
And I remember I slumped over the table. And I remember saying, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And my heart just did some crazy stuff. And when the doctor arrived and he was checking me, that he said to me, obviously, no, he said while he said, obviously it wasn't your time. And while he was checking me and dealing with me, because he'd asked me a lot of questions, he said it again the second time. And when he said it the second time, I said, why do you say that? He looked at me, he said, Patrice, anytime a patient dies of a heart attack, everything you just described is the last thing that happens before they die. He said, your mother should have met you slumped across this table, cold and stiff.
Wow.
And ended up doing a lot of EKGs, ECGs. And that was a crazy time waiting for my results. Because once you have a heart attack, some stuff happens. And because I have been in the natural health field, I understand some stuff. And it was just really getting to me. When we got the results, okay, nothing was wrong with your heart, but I needed, they'd suggested, I do a lot of relaxing, so I had to travel to Freeport, and but they didn't want me to travel. They didn't feel my heart could take it, et cetera, so I had to stay here for a while, then go in Freeport to recuperate for about 2 weeks. And no one told me I was menopausal until one morning, around 2 in the morning, felt like I was having another heart attack again. And I called a girlfriend, very afraid. One of the most alone times is not being able to sleep and having heart palpitations. One of my clients reminded me of me. Your heart beats so loud, you want to you want to try and stuff out the sound. And she said to me, she would turn up the television so she couldn't hear her heart. And when she tried to sleep, she would turn on the fan. So if she has to turn off the television, so she'd turn on the fan so she
Just
couldn't
to
hear
block
it.
it.
And yes, it is a stressful time, and you're up all night. And your heart is just going crazy. And I called a friend, and I remember when I told her what was going on. And she so gently said to me, now you wake up somebody 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Right. She was so sweet to me. She said, Patrice, I don't know why you don't accept the fact that you're perimenopausal.
Oh, look at that.
So when she said that, I stopped. Because I just done some research, and everything was saying that, but then to me, it was like, that's for all women.
Right.
Only all women just go through menopause.
Right. Right.
And when I accepted it, and it was like God did something to me early in that morning.
Oh my God.
And I finally accepted that I was perimenopausal. And I began the journey because I needed to heal. I'd been to doctors, EKGs, nothing. One doctor, when I asked him, wanted to put me on antidepressants. And the crazy thing was, I had just said to a friend, and I'd gotten to this point where I said, this is the most peaceful and happiest time. Only thing at this stage now I'm dealing with is a sleep issue. And I ended up addicted on sleeping pills. Only the grace of God, and I hid it, but I couldn't sleep for so long without pills. It was the only way I got sleep. And when I had spoken, I'd gone to one of the doctors who was seeing me, and he wanted to put me on a depressant. And I looked at him. I'm not depressed.
Right.
Because I just finished telling a friend of mine, I'm sitting on the beach. I get to sit on the beach, eat my lunch, my dinner. I watch people, and I was so at peace. Just this sleep issue now at this stage I was dealing with. And it's like, I'm not depressed.
Right.
I look depressed. And it's like, just give me the pills. Give me the pills.
Yes.
And you get to that. Listen here, you get to that. My mom was so afraid I would get addicted. When I was addicted, she didn't even know. I'm not telling anybody, but that was another journey, trying to get off pills. Then one doctor, after one of the heart issues, after he was looking at my results and they checked my heart and whatnot.
And nothing was wrong.
So I said to him, so what's wrong? So he says to me, I don't know. And this is the description he gives. He said it's like a bucket of water, and someone comes and plunges their hand into the
Right.
water. There's a lot of activity, and the water settles, and somebody else comes by and sees the bucket of water, and it's just calm. Nothing's going on. That's what I got. But when my girlfriend said to me that I was perimenopausal, and God had it, so I had just done a lot of research. Everything was lining up, but it just didn't make, for me, that couldn't make sense because I was too young, you know? So when I recognized that, I started asking questions. And a friend of mine said, why don't you ask the girls you graduated with? We had a chat, and it was about over 70-something women in the chat. And so I decided to be vulnerable and tell them what was going on.
Yes.
I wanted to know if anybody was dealing with this stuff. That day, over 50-something women, our chat has never been like that,
You
ever.
stop it.
Women, and the women were from all over. Women living in the U.S. and the Bahamas, one even fought in the Iraq War. Everybody was talking about what was going on with them. And it left me more confused because all of us were the same age, so we graduated together. And I was like, so if this is normal, why aren't women talking about it? And how come? And I remember one of the ladies in the group, she said, oh, that's why I'm so miserable. She said, I couldn't figure why I'm doing this, why. Yeah, and women get all these things going on in their heads. And so I then went to my mom. And I wanted to know about her experience because she never talked to me about
My
menopause.
point.
And I was like, so if this is normal, why aren't we talking about it?
Why is no one talking about it, Coach? And it just like in my case, I thank God for Agatha because I started to smell my arm. Like I said, and I literally thought, Coach, that I was going crazy. Like I would go to everyone and I'd be like, smell my arm. And my husband was getting tired of it. My daughters were saying, Mommy, please stop it. I went to my dad, my mom. I was like, please, something is wrong. It's like, I'm smelling this odor and no one else is smelling this odor. And then my heart started racing. I would lay down in the bed and I was like, if I go sleep, then something may happen. My head was ringing off. I was having stabbing. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was really, really bad. I didn't know what to do. So everything you were talking about, the feels, I had those feels. I would come down the stairs as athletic as I am, and I would be out of breath. I'm like, no way. And then I started to see the weight gain. I was like, what is going on? Far away from menopause. So I was in and out the doctor's office just asking them what was going on, honestly.
Yeah.
And it took my mom one day to say, Kiki, think about it. 6 years ago, you had a hysterectomy. I think you may have entered into menopause. But the thing, like I told you, Coach, when you asked me, you said, what is menopause to you? What do you think menopause is? I told you one thing, hot flashes. You said, well, baby girl, there's over 100 plus symptoms. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
I could not believe this, but I still felt like I was alone. And then when I spoke to you, you said, you could go to the doctor if you want, but I'm telling you, I wanted to satisfy this thing. Like, I just wanted to know, what my blood levels were. And the doctor still didn't get back to me. That's crazy. And when I asked him, I said, what would we do? So he was like, we would put you on hormone replacement. And I was like, no, I honestly don't want that. Because I felt like I was fighting, like something was fighting me, and I didn't know what it was. And I felt like I was, Miss Patrice, like I was losing my mind.
Many women call me telling me that, crying. Yes.
2 days after talking to you in the consultation, and I got all the stuff that I needed, and you sent me my, session, the things that I need to do, my protocol, and I started reading. Instantly, I felt this relief because I know now
what's going on.
What's going on. So instantly, I felt this relief. And after you said one thing to me, and I keep telling you this, this really changed my life. You said, Akriba, your hormones are out of whack. Tell me what you were eating for the last 2 weeks. I told you eggs, remember chicken breast, and you were like, what kind of eggs? What kind of chicken breast? I just was picking up the normal thing. You said, imagine the hormones they're injecting in those things, and you're putting it in your body.
Yes.
So everybody's going crazy in there.
Yes.
Oh my God, Coach, I read everything now. I was ever reading, but I cannot stand eggs if it's not organic now. And I can't stand chicken if it's not. I had my mommy like a crazy person the other day looking for organic chicken.
What we don't understand, and I try to explain this to women, the women in the eastern side of the world, they don't deal with the hormonal issues that we deal with. Now they go through the change of life.
Right.
And research shows that in the western side of the world, us here, over 75% of women deal with the hot flashes and night sweats around 50 years plus, okay? In the Eastern world, China, the ladies from China, 10% of them deal with hot flashes and night sweats. Only 10%.
Wow.
In Singapore, it's 17%, and Japan is 22%. And the research has been showing it's the way we eat. And us here on the western side of the world, we eat a lot of foods filled with hormones. And even foods that don't have, aren't injected. Let me give you an example, like the chicken. Our bodies, I think it's about 16 mgs of hormones we produce a day. The chicken produces 10 times more hormones than we do.
Oh my God.
That pregnant cow, when you go and eat her beef in the store, it's 100 times more. And we have been putting in so much hormones. Now, our bodies is such, there's an endocrine system where every hormone has a gland that, I call it a house. And if, for example, melatonin, that's something that's produced by the brain. And if you keep taking melatonin, the pituitary gland that's responsible in the brain that's releasing that, it's going to say, oh, I have melatonin. I don't need to work. Just like a car, if you sit a car down, car is meant to be driven and to take you to and fro. But if you leave that car there, things are gonna start deteriorating because it's not being used. And it's the same thing with the body. So we're told that if you take melatonin, only take a certain amount, or you have to stop because you don't want your body to begin to become lazy. And a lot of times when we are going through the menopausal transition, it's because we don't understand that your hormone levels are changing. And when we start eating all of these foods filled with hormones, your body already, your liver is having a hard time trying to detox and get rid of the hormones. And you're putting in more hormones in. And I remember I did a test which blew me. I've only eaten organic chicken. And we had a fast. And going on the fast, of course, you stop eating everything. So I remember my hot flashes and everything stopped. And of course, coming back onto foods, I went into the soft foods and the veggies first and all that. Fine. The instant I ate chicken, I remember having hot flashes. I was like, and I forgot that I had hot flashes because the fast was for an extended time. And I was like, oh, I get a hot flash. Geez, I haven't felt one of these.
Is this the organic chicken?
Yes. And see, because Every living thing,
Yes.
they have their hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers in the bodies. And I always say hormones are like gossiping women.
Yes.
They go throughout the body and they give instructions and tell instructions as to what to do. And if you got a bunch of extra hormones in your body, hormone is going to do what it was born to do or what it was created to do. Send signals, send signals, send signals, send signals for things to happen in the body. We were just talking with your producer and having a hot flash. That means her hypothalamus is getting false signals. So it's thinking that she is in a crisis mode. So when the brain gets that, the brain sends a message that, okay, she needs to cool down. So in thinking and in sending, it's going to send a lot of blood that's going to rush through the vessels. And when the blood rushes through the vessels, that's when you get, that's what's called a hot flash.
Wow.
And it comes for some women with the sweating, for some with the palpitations, etc. And it's because her brain got a wrong signal. The hormones, they all over the place now. And her brain, the hypothalamus, has been used to getting support from this estradiol that has been supporting her brain from puberty up till the time estrogen decided to say bye-bye. And so her brain goes through that those times when it's dealing with the lack of estrogen. And even though our bodies have a backup system, the adrenal glands, and even it has some fat tissues, and that's why a lot of women put on weight around here.
Yes.
The tissues itself, trying to give us a weaker form of estrogen, but our nutrition, our diet has been so horrible. The body's having a hard time. And one of my visions, and I think I've said this to you before, after I've dealt with the menopausal women and the men, I want to prepare women to go into menopause.
Of course.
We're going to be dealing with their liver and their adrenals.
Yes.
These two organs are they're so necessary, but if we don't take care of them, we're going to have a hard time during menopause. And so this is with the organic chicken. Even though organic chicken is good, hormones is hormones is hormones.
Oh, Lord.
And I remember I stopped after it happened because I ate chicken again and it started again. So I stopped. I stopped eating again. It stopped. Then I went back and after about a week or so I got the chicken and it happened again. I was like, and I like to test things.
Yeah, but you pick it up because just last night we celebrated and it was nothing to eat. So I decided to eat just a little bit. I did not take a lot. And this morning I woke up with the smelly arm. And I'm like, oh my God. I have to laugh about it now because, I was like, okay, I'm reading this. I see what happened here.
Yes,
because my arm was not having a smell anymore. But it came back again. And I was like, an extra fatigue. I felt very slow today.
And here's why women get fatigued during this menopausal transition. From puberty until you get to the point of menopause, the body has been at a balanced level, okay? Today you wake up, when you're in perimenopause, your level is here. Tomorrow's here, next is here, and the body has to make adjustments every time. And remember, from puberty, when you started ovulating and all of that stuff, it was one steady balanced flow of estradiol. But 10 years before you actually shut down from reproduction, estradiol begins to decline. And that's when you go into perimenopause. And let me just say here, because I jumped into that. Menopause has 3 stages: perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. Perimenopause is that 8 to 10 year window before a woman actually stops bleeding. Now, what happens is her estrogen, we all as little girls, when we came into this world, all of us came with what I call a basket of eggs.
Yes.
And when you went into puberty, estradiol came to you, and estradiol said, "Hi, Akriba. you've got all of these eggs. Now, you cannot die with these eggs. I have to help you. You have breasts, you have pubic hair, your hair under your arm. This is our sex hormone that makes us a woman. The estradiol makes us a woman.
Yes.
Now, we have about 33 years worth of eggs. Your daughter has 33 years worth of eggs. She came to this earth with. And 8 to 10 years, and every woman is different, before she shuts down, or before you or me shuts down, estradiol is going to say, you only got about 8 to 10 years, or some women, it's 4 years left, worth of eggs. So I don't need to hang around. You don't need this powerful amount of estrogen that you were having all these years. It's time for me to start packing. And so she began that process, and that's why you begin to diminish.
Yes.
And then you get to the point where you get to menopause. And a woman does not go into menopause until officially 12 months she has not bled. That day is called menopause. And after that is called post. Post happens between 51 and 58. I've been finding here a lot of women are 54, 53, 54. Yeah, going into post. Now, some women go in before. Of course, some women have the hysterectomy. Some women have the cysts on their ovaries aren't working properly. Some women because they chemo, etc. And that causes them to move even earlier into menopause. But once you're in your 40s and beyond, once you're in your 40s, you're normal. You're normal. You go into that before that, then there's always usually something that's going on in a woman's body. And once these are the 3 stages. And the thing about us as Bahamian women and women in the Caribbean is that we have not been taught about this.
That's what I'm saying.
We are in school, they teach us about puberty, which is the beginning of the reproductive stage.
Yes.
But they don't teach us about menopause, at the ending of the reproductive stage. So most women, 99.99% of the women in the country, go into menopause unaware, unprepared, and totally untooled. And then the poor husbands don't know who this new woman is they dealing with. They calling me.
Oh my God. Listen, Coach, when so I'm young, and, mine was induced, of course. But I was like, oh my God. Like, I went in on Google, and then I saw this big community of women just hearing their things, and they were like, you lose your sex drive, and then you get dryness, and then you get, because we can talk some deep stuff tonight, but I was like, okay, I ain't going through that, because, I'm young, and I still got to be, and someone was saying, but my husband, when he started to hear me talk about it, I was so impressed when he said, baby, I was reading up on this. I was ahead of you. I was reading up on it, because I started to get really, like, I was antsy. Like, I don't want to snap at anyone. And it came to a point where I started to tell the team, look, I don't know how I'm going to balance personalities with the show and menopause. I didn't know how to get it together, honestly. And my husband, just hearing him come on board, that was good for me, because, like I said, I've read on YouTube and saw people saying their marriage started to go under the rocks. And then you started to share with me.
In the round 40, statistic on book shows that during menopause, most divorce happens.
Oh my God.
Yes. And it's because of a lack of not understanding. Not only do the women not understand what's going on, neither do the men. And the women have a hard time explaining what's going on.
Right, and because my husband was like, babe, I want to help you. Like, I'm trying to read to see how I can help you. Because I don't know if you remember, Coach, there was this day, I just felt like the whole world was on my shoulder. And I tried to explain it to my husband. I started to make up every excuse. I was like, I'm tired of living here in my parents' house. I need us to get out. Like, we need our own space. I made up everything. This person was calling me too much. This is happening. I just want to get away from everybody. And when I spoke to you, the calmness, you allowed me to just cry, because I was in the car crying. People would speak to me and I would begin to cry. That has never happened, because I'm not like that. Yes. And so, because now I can't control I'm not in control anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That started to affect me because I was like, okay, no, Kiki, calm down. I was getting, like, I have to say this. I was prepared to just slap people's head off. Like, I have to say this.
Oh,
I mean,
many women. In my group, they listen.
I don't know where the anger or where this frustration came from, but like you say one thing to me and I get upset, like I literally have to say, Kiki, stand up, Jesus help me, because I mean, I don't know. And, you know, I felt like once again, alone, because there's not an awareness, there's not a community. I have you, but like you say, with the conferences that you have now, you get to hear other people's stories, having the same issues, because that's what brings comfort, I feel.
Yes, you know you're not alone. Oh, listen here, and that's one of the things why even when I had the seminars, I remember the last one, this lady felt as though she was going crazy and no doctors were helping her. And I remember the look on her face and how she was just frazzled. They wanted to put her on. I think they had started on antidepressant and just a bunch of stuff. And she couldn't understand what was going on. They couldn't explain it to her. She booked a consultation with me, and what I was impressed with, her husband was in the consultation.
That's it.
And let me tell you something. I worked with that lady, and I remember when I saw that lady after, she said, "You don't understand. I feel like a free woman." And she was talking about how, because she had so many different symptoms, and her symptoms were gone finally. She was following a protocol, and and I remember that, and I remember the Lord had spoken to me before. And she used the words He had said to me from Isaiah. He sent me to give the good news to the poor.
Yes.
And for this, it's the menopausal women, because so many women think that something's wrong with them. So many women's marriages are being affected on the job. I've got one lady, one of my clients who's dealing with the leaks. She has to be home. She has to work from home. And we have a lot of women walking around here dressed right up, wearing pampers and or diapers or pads. And we don't talk about it. I just had 2 weeks back to back a pelvic floor health seminar.
Yes.
And these were all women who were dealing with the vaginal issues, because nobody told us that menopause affects our vagina.
No.
Many women have dryness, itching, burning, prolapse, leaks, urinary leaks, fecal leaks, UTI infections, all of this. And what I did for those 2 sessions, and it's a smaller session because it's these women dealing with these issues, and it's very embarrassing.
Yes.
Some women, they go to bed, you get up, your bed is reeking of urine, you're sitting in a chair, you get up, it smells of urine. And all of these, I'm telling you, women are hiding these stuff. And listen, if you hear the stories I hear, and my goal is we're gonna be breaking these taboos.
Yes.
And we're gonna be able to talk about menopause so that our daughters who are going to come into it, that it's not going to hit them by surprise.
No,
they're going to be prepared.
Yes.
And so I'm big on talking about menopause, because even like you talked about the various issues, menopause is not just a reproductive transition. It's a transition for our brains as women. And the good thing is research shows that our brains go back to normal in our 60s. I mean, that's a long time, but it goes back. Like you're talking about the irritation. There's a part in our brain, the amygdala, and then right under that is the hippocampus. One is responsible for memory and concentration. When that part of our brain is not getting the support that it's been getting from the estradiol, it's like a gas tank isn't being filled anymore. And so that part of your brain, so when you see women having these focus and memory, like how I told you I had the brain fog, that part of my brain wasn't getting the support it's been used to getting, and so some haywire is happening. Then right under that is the hippocampus. The hippocampus moves. Some women switch from I'm happy to I'm sad to I'm crying. I have women, and Worse is the women who don't cry at all,
Mm.
who are tough. And they cannot figure out why they cry. Women come to me, what is wrong with me? I'm so sad. There are women who close up in the house all day. Husbands call me. They and their wife are not together anymore. She's become a different person.
Yes.
We have women who have psychological issues early on in life. And if she has psychological issues, 9.5 to 9.9% of the time during menopause, she deals with psychological issues.
Oh, wow.
When I tell you the women that come to me and I put them on protocols, and all across the Bahamas, and so many women, I have women say to me, Ms. Lockhart, I've been dealing with menopausal issues for 17 years, for 20 years. I've been to doctors here in the Bahamas. I've been to doctors in the U.S. I went on your protocol. This is the first time they're gone.
Yes.
And that's why I tell women, menopause is not a medical condition.
Yes.
It is not a disease. It's a natural transition that we were born to go through. We just haven't been schooled or educated as to how to navigate through it, as to what's going on in the body at this time. So here's what you do, because we cannot avoid it. We cannot avoid it as long as you go through that process. Now, everybody does not have severe symptoms. About 25 to a little over 25% of women have severe symptoms. Now, everybody else would have the hot flashes, etc. But I have women who have a combination of physical, and menopause affects us physically, mentally, and emotionally. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose. And so us as women learning how to be more sensitive with each other.
Yes.
Learning how to be understanding with even ourselves is so important. I remember the Tribune did an article on me, and there was this lady from the US. She saw it online.
Wow.
And she called me crying hysterically because she was going through what I was going through, and her and her husband were keeping it a secret. They didn't know what to do, and she thought she was alone. And excuse me, like I said, I have a group called Menopause Survival Care, and I mentor these women. I've been mentoring these women for about a year now, and these women are from the Bahamas, the USA, the UK, Africa, the Caribbean, and Dubai. And excuse me, we all have one thing in common.
Wow.
Menopause. Menopause, don't care who
But
you
even
are.
Dubai.
And the lady who is in Dubai, she's African descent though. She was born in Africa.
Right.
She now lives in Dubai.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh
my. But Miss Patrice, it's so much because now that we're talking about it, I go back into, I was telling the team, I think that I had entered a long time, like I was telling you, because things were happening, but I did not take it as that. I mean, menopause, come on, it was far from my mind. Yes. I'm too young. And my mom had no symptoms. I mean, my mom went through and nothing. I called my older sister. She said, "Oh, that beat me up, Kiki." And I was like, "Okay." But then things started to happen. Now that you're talking, you spoke about the UTIs. There was a season when I was having so many of them. And the doctor would just keep giving you this and that and saying, well, wipe this way, but they would come back again. And I was like, no, this got to be something else, because how is the UTIs going to stop? Because they hurt. And then there was a season when I would cough, but then I would feel a leak. And I would be like, okay, maybe I just need to use the bathroom and I need to just get to the bathroom. But not thinking that menopause.
It's menopause. What we have not been told,
That's right,
is that menopause affects our vagina. And when a woman has UTI, here's what's happening. Estradiol keeps our vagina healthy. Our vagina is naturally acidic. And that pH balance, just like the mouth, just like the gut,
yes,
needs to be stable because it keeps us protected from sexually transmitted diseases, bacteria, etc. When your estrogen declines and goes down, it affects the health of the vagina. The moisture, the moisture that the vagina produces, no longer, and it will diminish. As long as you have pelvic floor issues, that's another issue. But as long as you have these pelvic floor issues don't go away. And that's one of the things I teach in my session. And that's I teach women how to take care of the pelvic floor itself because it's a muscle. The pelvic floor is at the bottom of our pelvis. This is our pelvic bone here. And that holds up our bladder. Then right in the back of the bladder is the uterus. Right in the back of the uterus is the bowel. Okay? And it's a floor. But this floor is a muscle. And estrogen is responsible also for keeping our muscles. So we talk about the joint and the muscle. And just like, you notice how we get a little flabby during this time?
yes.
And we use muscle knots. It's the same. It's a muscle that's weakening during this time. And because this muscle is weakened and because the health of the vagina is not the same, the pH balance causes you to stay protected. Once you don't have that normal pH balance anymore, bacteria, it's easy for the bacteria to make its way up to the urinary tract into the bladder. And so what I have to tell my clients is that you've got a urine before intercourse and you've got a urine after intercourse because you've got to keep cleaning out the bladder. It's easier now. And one of the things I teach women how to do is to strengthen the floor of the pelvic muscle, the pelvic floor muscle. And you had a hysterectomy. No.
Yes.
Yes, you had a hysterectomy. Okay. The structure is not the same anymore. Imagine, this is a floor.
Yes.
This floor is holding up this.
Right.
Okay, there's a chair, there's this, and any other thing. And if this floor is weakened.
Yes.
Now, not only is that floor weakened, remember what I said. There's the bladder in front here. Right behind the bladder is the uterus. Right behind the uterus is the bowel. Now, when you move that uterus, you mess with the structure.
Right.
You mess with the balance. It's just like nature. When we mess with the ocean and start digging up, we cause these tidal waves, etc. And a lot of times, women who have hysterectomy are not told about what you're going to look like 5 years from now.
Correct.
10 years from now.
Correct.
20 years from now. And usually, women who have a hysterectomy, later on, they deal with prolapse. And sometimes when I have to tell women this, it doesn't feel good, but women need to know. I had a client, I will never forget, she was post. And when I saw her symptomology, I looked at her, I'm like, God, she's her heart, she's gonna have horrible heart issues. And it could take her out. And when I started to talk to her, she looked at me. She said, Ms. Lockhart, about 3-4 months ago, that's exactly what happened. And I stopped. I remember stopped and looking at her and thinking, had I met this woman before? And it really came home to me. And now she's hanging on a thread. Anything happens, And it's because we don't know. No one told us. And that's why I became a menopause health practitioner. When I started, asking all the questions, I had to be my own rescue with the help of God because the first thing was the palpitations. I was able to help myself. And as simple as potassium is, potassium regulates the heartbeat. When I just
that did wonders for me, Ms. Patrice.
I many women tell me the same. They said, when I heard
me.
you said that, I did it. They call me. They say, yes, it works. Yes, there's so many things we deal with, And we think it's the end of the world. And we think we must go on hormone replacement therapy. But I'm telling you, God, in His wisdom,
Yes.
has put natural hormone replacement therapy right out there for you and me.
Yes.
But we perish for lack of knowledge.
That's what I went to say. That's what I went to say
Mm-hmm.
because of that. And that's why people need it but just for those people that don't know, what is it? And for me too, prolapse. When you have to talk about the prolapse after having a hysterectomy, what is that? What does that entail?
A prolapse is when your uterus begins to come through the vagina. There are 4 stages. Some women could actually look down and they could see something hanging.
Right.
Hanging. That's in the 4th stage. The floor is weak. The floor doesn't, the normal structure and support is no longer there. And because the floor is weak, the weight begins to push down on it. And it, again, just like a flabby muscle. Just like a flabby muscle. And so women can have from stage 1, 2, 3, or 4 of a prolapse. The uterus, literally, you see
Wow.
something hanging out of the vagina.
Wow.
Yes.
So what is the treatment for that?
One of the biggest thing is strengthening that same wall. And that's what I help women with. Because just how you strengthening that muscle, just how you could be 50 and 60 and flabby, but you go to the gym and you start working out, you see
that
muscle tone.
Yes.
That's what I teach women to do with the pelvic muscle. And once that muscle becomes strong again, it can hold up, it can do what it's supposed to do. The bladder then with the leaks and whatnot become non-existent after a while because you've strengthened that floor. The floor literally is weak, and if you don't deal with the floor, then everything the floor holding up. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what about the constant? Oh, one of the things that I noticed as well, I would go to the bathroom a lot. That has stopped. But in the early stages, contacting you, that was one of the things. Every night, it felt like I was pregnant. Like every minute I have to go to the bathroom to urine. What was the cause of that?
It's still your bladder, but what you are doing now is because you're putting in more phytoestrogen in the body. And I always teach women, if you think about it, it's like math, it's like a formula. Why is all of this problem happening to us as women? Why is it? Let me see if you...
Why? Hold on now, you get me on the spot. I put it on
okay.
the audience. I'll let somebody... Why do we? That's a good question.
The estrogen, the decline of the estrogen.
Yes, I got it.
That's your when you keep understanding that, remember
the estrogen is the big deal.
Yes.
It's the big
she
ball
affects
player
our
in this.
brains.
Yes.
She affects our joints and muscles. She affects our bones. Estrogen is responsible. Scientists tell us we become a new person. Every year you're a different person. Yes. Estrogen is responsible for removing old bone and giving you new bone. That's why in the 50s we are told we have to take calcium.
Yes.
It's so important because we don't have that support anymore. A lot of women have it affects our auditory system, ringing in the ear. A lot of women deal with the brain. Like I said, it affects the brain, the sleep, the insomnia because of the brain stem, then the moods, the lack of concentration, and then the thalamus with the temperature control. Then we have some women with the thyroid issues. Then some women with the weight issues. The cortisol gets out of control. And the English, the UK standard has over 35. No, I'm sorry, the Americans, 35. UK has a list of 48. And every woman's cocktail of symptoms are different.
Yes.
Every woman.
Yes.
And that's important for every woman to know because I have a lot. I remember I had this client. She said to me she was on something, and based on her symptomology, I'm like, why would you take that? Well, she said, well, my friend was on it, worked for her.
Right.
And I was like, no, you got low testosterone. No, she didn't have low testosterone. And see, yes, you may have, you both may have heart palpitations and night sweats. You both may have itchy skin. But some women, they have estrogen dominance, some low estrogen, some high progesterone, low progesterone, high testosterone, low testosterone.
Oh
And so
my God.
our symptoms, again, it's a cocktail of symptoms that are different on depending on, and everybody's body is different. So that's one of the things that I work with women with, because I have a lot of women say, I tried this and I did this, don't work.
Right.
But it's like, it's not a one blanket you put on for everybody, because your symptoms are different.
Yes. And then, like you say, one day I can wake up with this, next day I wake up with that. And I'm starting to learn that.
Yeah.
I'm still navigating. I'm still trying to. It is a lot, Coach. It's a lot. And we're going to talk about more. We have to wrap this segment up. Well, Patrice, I never end my session without allowing my guests to share a word with the audience. Anything that you're led, the Lord is leading you to share with them. Based around menopause, we know that it has no age.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to speak to the audience and the women, the many women that will be watching this segment. Give them some encouragement.
I want to say to any woman going through the menopausal transition, you're going to be all right. This didn't come to take you out. I know some of you feel as though you're losing your mind. Some of you, you're dealing with the embarrassing leaks. Some of you are dealing with the prolapse, the vaginal itching, many embarrassing symptoms. But nothing is wrong with you. You are menopausal. And you are fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And it's just because of lack of knowledge that you are where you are. I am a menopause health practitioner, and I am here. I host seminars. I do consultations. I can be booked for a consultation. And what I do is I customize a protocol for you based on what's going on with you. Whether it's affecting your marriage, whether it's affecting you on the job, whether it's affecting your relationships, everybody running the next way because you're miserable.
Yes.
Look, there is still hope. There is hope. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and it's just all about understanding what's going on in your body. And God has made sure that I am here in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean, and my passion is to help menopausal women.
That's so good. That's so good. And you spoke about something, and you have a conference coming up. What every woman should know about menopause.
Yes.
When we air the show, though, this conference will be gone, but there will be so many others coming up. But just in the detail, what is going to happen here? Just briefly.
Every time I do a what every woman should know about menopause seminar, I take women through understanding the basics of menopause. Then I have another seminar, and I do that because it's an introduction, because there are over 35 symptoms, I should say 48, and women are shocked. On my last session in November that I did, and I talked about tinnitus, the ringing in the ears, and there's about 100 women in the room, so I asked, how many of you have the ringing in the ears? Half of the room raised their hand, and everyone was laughing because you too.
Oh my God! I can't wait, Patrice, because I'm going to be attending this, and so will my team. We're making it a girls' night out. Two of us are in menopause, but it doesn't matter. Everyone needs to know.
Everyone, as long as you call female. And males need to know too, because they marry the female.
Well, guess what? And that's the reason why you have to come back again, because this was not enough time. So you have to come back again so that we can talk more and more, and even educate husbands that are going through it. Mm-hmm. So for those that don't know you and need to get socially connected with you, how can they find you, Patrice?
I am on Facebook as Patrice Lockhart. Also, you can go to Shaddai Health, and I have a private menopausal group that I have been mentoring. It's called Menopause Survival Care. It's a safe space for women talk about their issues. Women ask questions. And what I do is I put bite-sized information in the group consistently so women can get to know and understand more about menopause.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So there you have it. If you want to get connected to Patrice,
my phone is
and the phone number, of course, we will put it on the screen.
Okay.
I will put it on the screen for you. But if you think, you're entering menopause or you want to know more, trust me, Patrice is an angel sent from God. I can tell you, she's a coach in my life, and my life has changed tremendously just understanding the body. So it is my prayer tonight that you were blessed, and that everything, you got to get knowledge. It's important to get wisdom in all you're getting. And so I think that that's so important. So if you were blessed tonight, please follow Coach Patrice and attend these seminars that she have. You will be blessed. So until next time, God bless you. May the peace of God be with you always. Thank you.
It is our prayer that you are blessed by this episode. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to receive notifications of new uploads. God bless.
Hi, I'm Patrice Lockhart. I just had the wonderful opportunity of being interviewed by Akriba. Listen here, a faith talk. Akriba makes you cry. She makes you tell you all your business. But I love the fact that her heart is to make sure her audience gets the full story. I had a wonderful time. I hope you will too.
Do you have a life story to share that you know only God could have brought you out? One that can change someone's life for the better. Become a guest on Faith Talk by emailing faithtalklive7@gmail.com or send a direct message on Instagram at faith_talk_. We look forward to hearing from you.